Hey, welcome to Glitch Please, the show where we talk about video games every week. I'm Ashley.
I'm John.
I'm Adam.
I'm Brian.
And together we are...
Job.
Do we need a team name?
I think we do, but we'll come up with that later.
Okay.
Jab.
So...
Jab. Jab.
Lots of stuff to talk about this week. Lots of things happening in the video game industry. Weird things happening with Adam in particular. I don't know what is happening, but something is for sure.
You're like a character on Muppets right now. It's like trying to make something up. What happened? What happened in games?
All kinds of stuff. We have a couple new releases. Graveyard Keeper came out, so everyone will be real excited about that.
Ooh,
you heard me talking about Stardew Valley a
excited.
lot. You might hear me talk about Graveyard Keeper now. We'll see. But there have been a couple of developments like in the industry news-wise, so we'll talk about that. Death's Gambit came out. We'll talk about that. This has been like several weeks in a row of Metroidvania.
Yes.
We might have been deceived. It might not actually be a Metroidvania, but I'll tell you about it.
Okay, please. Yeah, it was sort of billed that way.
It was, totally.
It was billed as like a Dark Souls Metroidvania.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God.
Yeah. So we'll discuss that. But before we get into all that, what you guys been playing?
I've been playing Minute on the Switch. It just came out.
Nice.
I've never played it before. I know it's not brand new, but it's so much fun. I
What is
love the
Minute?
concept. So you play as, I don't know, he kind of looks like Qbert.
Okay.
It's like a black and white game, like pixelated. You don't know what you're doing, but you have 60 seconds until you die.
Gotcha.
And then it starts over again. So
So it's to figure it out.
Yes, exactly. Kind of like a constrained comic almost. You have to like, but you do keep whatever
Oh, I
items
did
you
see
find.
this.
Yeah, we saw it at E3. They showed it off at E3 not this E3, but last E3. And I liked the look of it. It's just like a lot of fun. There's like little, progression items that you have to get. You die, but you keep those. So you're just sort of slowly advancing and figuring it out. It's very like low stress, despite the fact that you only have 60 seconds to live.
Each planet.
Yeah. And
You
there's
can park a new.
Get a new house.
Yeah, new
Yeah.
houses.
So you got like your new respawn point essentially.
Yeah.
Your new bed.
That's right.
And then there's also some of the things in the world will stay changed once you change them if you solve a puzzle or open an area or something like that. And then there are others like chopping down trees, whatever, that don't necessarily stay.
They come back.
Yeah. So eventually you get to the point where you will get to the end of the game in a minute.
Okay.
But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They came on our E3 show
Right.
year before this.
That's what got me hooked. I just thought it was really interesting. I followed the guy on Twitter, and it's just a very clever concept for the game, but he also executes it very well. And it's fun.
Yeah, it's very charming. I
Yeah.
worried that having to essentially restart the game every minute would get really frustrating.
Yes.
And there are a couple spots they really play with that. There's one right towards the beginning. You can go and talk to a dude at a lighthouse. And it's this old
The
man
slow
who
talking
talks
guy?
really
Yeah.
slow.
Yep.
And he will take up your entire minute. And you're like, just, come on, just go. Just, come on, tell me. And he eventually points you to a treasure, if I recall correctly, or tells you something about a treasure. And then that's it. That was your minute.
Right.
And then you never want to talk to that guy again.
Right.
So it does play with your time a little bit here and there, but there's a lot of fun to it. It's really charming. It's really well done.
Yes.
And there is, once you beat it, the game is different. When you play
That's cool. It's great on the Switch.
Seems like a great.
Yeah, just a perfect, in that handheld mode, it's fantastic. So yeah, that's been taking up my time. Oh, and there's another kind of a Mega Man clone, but I like called 20XX, just kind of a platformer type thing, very reminiscent of sort of like what a newer Mega Man would be, but that's been a lot of fun. So yeah, that's what I got.
Nice. Speaking of Switch, I spent a lot more time playing Okami on the Switch because I've been traveling. So I just got back in the office yesterday, and I took my Switch, and that was what kept me company on the flight, and it was great. I like it a whole bunch. I haven't had any problems. I was talking to Ellie, and she said that she's had a couple of issues with you can hold in the right trigger to basically bring up the drawing interface, and she said she had a couple occasions where that didn't necessarily work. I haven't run into those, but I did have a bug last time I played Okami where it would give you new power, and then I went to slash the stuff, and it wouldn't slash it. So I feel like I did my time with the bugs, and I was angry about it, and now it's been okay. It's like it's paying me back for that. So I appreciate that. It's great. I love using the touch screen to draw. It's wonderful.
Yes, great idea.
Do you wish you had a stylus at all?
No.
Good with the finger?
Nope. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Pretty easy doing it all with the finger.
Is that funny?
He's being filthy. It's John. Are you surprised?
I'm playing a lot of Overwatch.
Have you been doing it with your finger?
I'll do it all the time for your whole hand even. And I've been playing a lot of that and burning my entire comp rank because that's how Overwatch works. I've been in like gold for forever and I've been trying to get to diamond, and I got like, basically I could almost reach the cliff of diamond, and then I just nuked my like rank.
You're not diamond material.
I'm not yet, not right now. I got like in a streak of 15 losses in a row.
What?
Who you
What
do you
happens
have like
to
a
make you suck
main?
so much?
It was totally partially. I had a bunch of bad games, and then I had just a bunch of games where people were like, no, we don't want to help your team win. Like they just like the people were just doing like clearly bad things. In Gold's this great rank in Overwatch where people who could be diamond mix with people who should be silver, and they all fight for this really bad area. So you got people that are doing like really bad tactics, and you got levers, and you've got people that just auto lock to someone who's not in the meta, and then you got people like I'm not saying that I'm that good at Overwatch, but I actually try really hard, and I really tried to actually help my team and that kind of thing, and that should help me get up in rank, but it just I nuked it down. But
So are you silver?
I'm gold still. I'm holding on to gold. I'm actually trying to help a friend of mine get to a rank that we can duo, and hopefully we can do it because he's very good, and hopefully we can duo up to diamond.
Can you D-rank? Once you hit diamond, are you there?
No, you can totally D-rank. I mean,
okay.
I wrote a tweet about me dropping, and people responded with their own like stories of like loss, and and I even jumped into a game with a dude that was like, I think he might have gone from mid-diamond all the way down to my level.
Ooh.
And I like, because you can look at people's career profiles.
Yes.
And I just like looked at his profile and said, I am so sorry. And he was really nice in the game. He was trying to use comms and do shot calling. You could tell this guy was like really trying to not be salty, and I was like, bless you.
He'd been humbled by life.
Who are you playing? Are you playing the Hamster Man?
No, he's not totally in the meta yet. He's fun as hell, but you have to have a very specific team built around him for him to be useful.
Do you have regulars that you play with?
Yeah, I'm a support main, so I play with Mercy. I've been working on playing with Ana a lot.
Oh, I meant players.
Oh no, the best way to, honestly, the best way to rank in comp is to solo Q.
Because grouping, you'll get grouped against groups.
Correct. So, like, if you have like a killer group, you might be able to pull it off, but it's pretty rough. But the other game I wanted to say I was playing is a game called Armello. I think you've played Armello. It's a board game style video game with like the overworld it looks like a board game with tiles on it. Yeah, it's tile based, and you move spaces around and do little events, and you're all these anthropomorphized animal like fantasy characters, so you're like an archer or a wizard, that kind of thing. And it's just a board game with a simple objective where you have to win by the end of a certain amount of turns, and there's like 5 or 6 ways you can actually win. It's really chill, and it's something that's really fun just to throw on and like just play my little board game and watch a little something on my Netflix and that kind of thing.
What's the theme of the game?
It's animal D&D essentially.
Oh, that's
as far as like the look, the aesthetic. And
like anything with hexes, I'm good.
It's very hexes game. And there's the lion is the king in the middle of the map, and he is slowly being taken over by the rot. And once he's taken over by the rot, the game ends, and whoever is closest to an objective wins, or whoever actually completes an objective wins. You have items and cards. Cool. You have dice. There's dice rolling as far as like combat.
Ooh. What's the price?
I think I got it on sale for less than 20 at one point, so it's super cheap. It's not a very in-depth game. Like it's one gameplay style. It's got a bunch of characters that all have different abilities and moves, But I just like because it's a board game you can play by yourself, and
Is it like you get to master the way like the different moves and stuff synergize with each other?
Yeah, certain characters are inclined to be able to succeed better, and certain objectives like there's these like pterodactyl like demon things that come out of the dungeons, and certain characters are really good at fighting them. Certain characters are really good at fighting other characters that are in the map, that like other players. Certain characters are really good at getting a lot of loot or a lot of money. So it's just you kind of can play to whatever you want to do.
How many characters do you control? Just one at a time?
You control one at a time. There's 4 to a game, and you control one, but there's about a total of like 8 different characters to choose from in the game.
Cool.
And you're competing with 3 other people?
3 other AI or characters.
Got it.
Or actual players, that kind of thing.
It's $19.99 on Steam, it's on Windows, PC, Mac, PS4, Xbox One, and iPhone.
Huh.
So
When did
they're
it
still
release?
updating the game.
It's
too.
not new.
No, it's been out a while. I actually
heard of it.
It's been a couple years.
It was
2016. It came out in September 1st for everything except Xbox One in 2015.
Yeah.
And then 2016 for Xbox One.
It's just a little indie game, and it was pretty. Like there was one of the times where like you see the aesthetic, and then you hear the concept of like it's a board game, and I was like, I could be into this for $20.
Right. It's not the same, but it reminds me a lot of Battle Lore, which is like a war board game that's all set on hexes. It looks very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when it came out, there were some rough edges, and they've released some updates that have improved things quite a bit. But it's a very charming game.
Very charming. Is a
Yeah,
good word for
I'm
it.
glad you picked it up and you're liking it. That's awesome.
I like to have a side game that's just my chill game. I mean, No Man's Sky when the update came out was
Wow,
that.
side game.
Yeah.
Wow. Just so you know, Armello, you're just a side game.
Damn.
Yeah.
So a little small game came out. Expansion for a game came out.
You back on WoW?
Indie title.
Yeah, trying it out. It's World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. I wasn't gonna play it, but me and Grace were hanging out.
But then you were.
Well, me and Grace were hanging out with some friends, and the friends were really talking it up. And I was talking to Grace on the way home. And I was like, man, I kind of want to get back into WoW. She's like, yeah, I want to try it. And I was like, do you want to play
Has
WoW
she
with
ever
me?
played WoW?
We played for a trial. We had like a 7-day trial, and we played and got.
So that's her
somewhere in
experience with it.
Westfall. Yeah, I played a lot, but like my last time I had a subscription was in Cataclysm. So it's been like 8 years. And so she agreed, and so I got.
She agreed.
I got that jump start.
She consented to the WoW.
Yeah, so I'm not actually committing to any character yet, but the game does a really cool thing now, and I don't know if this was done in Legion or if this is new for Battle for Azeroth, but the game gives you, when you buy the game, a 110 character boost, so you can boost any character to 110. But if you decide, and 110 is where the new content starts, but if you decide you want to try out characters, it gives you the option to do a level 110 class trial. And what that is like you have like basically a limited time to play a class. It will it'll onboard you by like giving you a tutorial of all the class's abilities and stuff like that. So it's not just like you're starting a level 110 and you have no idea what's going on. It'll literally give you nothing and then just like say like use this ability at first, use this ability, and it's generally I think it only lets you do the DPS spec of that class, but it's a great way to like try out new classes and see if you like them at 110 or if you want to try something different. And that's
I don't remember if that came out with the last expansion. I played the last expansion. I played every expansion, but that might be new for this one. I can't remember.
It's really cool because I also went back and started a level 1 character, a level 1 dwarf, and I've done the 1 through 70 stuff a lot.
Yep. Same.
So I didn't really want to do all that again. I will, because they also changed that in
You want to go
Cataclysm.
to Stranglethorn Vale like for the 15,000
Well,
times?
they did change it in Cataclysm.
Yeah, Cataclysm
and I
mix it up.
haven't really done any of that Cataclysm stuff.
It's still grinding.
Totally. But I did get to try the Battle for Azeroth stuff, and immediately the game throws you into a quest. Like after you do the tutorial on a ship, it's like, all right, we're about to be at war, and I don't really know what's going on, other than like.
It is overwhelming. You've taken a break.
Yeah, right. What's her name is real mad. Girl with bow. Sylvanas.
Sylvanas.
Yeah, she's pissed.
Sylvanas Windrunner.
So I think the story is the Alliance are attacking the Undercity in retribution for something that happened. I think Sylvanas might have blown up Darnassus. Don't really know. Not totally caught up on story, full disclosure. I'm sorry to those I'm offending right now. But essentially, when you go into the game, it's like, hey, there are other people available for this scenario. And it's not a quest. It's called a scenario.
Yeah.
And the quest is to complete the scenario.
Yeah.
And you you just hit, yeah, I want to play with other people, and it says, great, here are 20 other people, and suddenly you're running around a besieged city, and I think it's Undercity, with 20 other people, and you have like these lore characters that are running around like Sylvanas and, man, I forgot the other guy's name, but they're running around being like, we gotta defend the city.
Megatron is the other one.
Megatron, yeah, Prime. Megatron Prime is, yeah. Is that how it works?
The druid.
Yeah. So you're running around the city, and there's like 20 other people, and there's like siege tanks and all this stuff going on, and it feels like an actual like battle. Like it's not just you versus like NPCs that are going, yeah. It's like, no, there's 20 other people. Everyone's in combat with different people. You have shit going on. You have like these hero characters that are healing you. You have people dropping bombs. It's like, it's cool. Yeah. It feels, it's the best they've done so far in feeling like you're in a real battle and not like just seeing this, like the 20 NPCs going, yeah, and like not dying.
They're all just hitting each other.
Right, like this is, it's actual, and you're running around the city and like there's push, there's pull.
Yeah, I jumped on and I watched Kraken. Him and his chat did a raid on Stormwind the other night, and that was super fun. If you ever haven't checked out Kraken when he plays with his guys from Sideshow, they role play, and so they love to make characters up.
Oh, that's fun.
And so he was a gnome rogue, but he also obviously had like a New York like Brola's accent. I mean, it's like, I guess that's more Bostonian, but he was like they do all that, and then they try to play into the characters, and they try to stay into roles and that kind of thing, and create comedy through it. And it was funny that they fought all the way through what's the dwarves' place?
Ironforge?
They fought through Ironforge, got on a tram to Stormwind, and then got into Stormwind. And I watched them get all the way to whoever the fucker is in charge of Stormwind right now. I can't remember his name.
One of the Rins, maybe.
But yes, so they got to Gandalf, and they were trying to kill Gandalf in Stormwind, and they got to him, and he has like umpteen million HP, and so it was just them just hitting on this guy for like 15 minutes and nothing happening.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I liked every once in a while go on Twitch and just see who the top Twitch streamers are. And the top streamer was obviously a World of Warcraft guy because it just got expanded. There were 32,000 people watching this one dude just do mystics in dungeons and that kind of thing.
I mean, people want to see the new content.
No, it's great. Like that was just amazing to see, though, that big of a number of people just watching a dude do the new dungeons in a game that's been around since I was in college.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool to go back and see. I know in Legion they did a bunch of model passes and upgraded the looks of a lot of characters.
Yeah.
But it really does look a lot more modern. It does. I won't say it looks great, but the
game still has to function.
I've always felt like it looked fine and it was playable, and now like it's pretty to look at again.
Mists of Pandaria was beautiful when they came out of that, because that whole very Chinese landscape kind of thing. That was a good aesthetic. I love that.
And they've added things like beard physics. Like when I jumped with my dwarf, my beard goes.
I saw your tweet about that.
And
so happy.
Wow.
Look at that. Broadcast knew. Good job.
Yeah, thanks guys. So far, impressions are really good. This weekend,
especially Adam's.
Yeah, this weekend I'll be starting either a new character or doing the 110 boost with Grace, and I will probably be able to give some more impressions next week of how the actual more majority of the content is.
I need some advice.
Yes, you should play it. For sure.
I can't play
I need
right
more
now.
than that. So
I want to.
I'm going Horde, by the way, now.
Me too.
For those curious, I've always been Alliance.
Is there another team?
I've always been Alliance. I want to try Horde.
Yeah.
Well, dwarves are fucking cool.
Always Horde.
Yeah, I'm trying Horde now. Sorry, go on.
Never played World of Warcraft ever.
Okay.
I don't want to know someone to tell me how many hours I put into that game. Don't ever tell me.
I have not spent a single minute playing. When I was in my youth, I went through several MMOs. They were just life suckers for me. My first was EverQuest. That was also the first multiplayer game that I played, I think. It was the first online multiplayer game anyway. Yeah, definitely not multiplayer, online multiplayer, where I went into this world and I was just like, all these people are other people.
Yeah.
And immediately, like, I could see just the cliff I was on. I just dove. And so this was when I was in school, my grades took a nosedive. I would stay up all night, play, and then I would get ready for school and I would sleep through history. So I don't know shit about what's happened in this country, because U.S. history is a great place to sleep. They did a lot of slideshows. And then I did I did a couple of the expansions. My computer was having a lot of trouble handling them. So I eventually had to upgrade different pieces of my PC just to keep playing, just the bare minimum. EverQuest 2, I played a little bit of. I did Asheron's Call. I did the beta for Asheron's Call 2, but that seemed kind of empty, so I didn't get super into it. EVE Online and Shadowbane. So I went through just this phase where it was all MMO all the time, and at some point, you know, the switch turns. It's the same when you're in sandbox games,
Yes.
where
Yep.
you just decide
You're
that
done.
you're done.
Yep.
I decided I was done, but I decided I was done with the genre because it's just it can take as much time as you have to
Yes.
put into it, and I was great at finding all kinds of time, whether I had it or not, and so I just decided maybe I don't have the kind of self-control necessary to be a solid contributing member of society and also play MMOs. So I stopped entirely.
Sure.
And so I've never played World of Warcraft. A guy I was dating when that came out, I somehow at like I don't know, some event got a copy of World of Warcraft. Someone gave it to me. I refused to open it, and so he framed it. And I still have that copy of vanilla World of Warcraft framed.
That's fun.
It's just like it's framed, you can't open it. And so I never ever have. And I don't want to, but I do.
Yeah.
And I don't know what
Hearing
to do.
So
people
what
talk
advice
about
are you
it is
looking for right now? Tell me what you want to hear.
Adam's gone to like good boyfriend mode.
No, I just,
Look, I
heroin
appreciate that.
dealer mode.
Oh, that
Here-
too.
Can you play this game in bite-sized chunks?
No.
Okay.
I don't think you can. I think it is meant. It is a game that is meant to have you play a ton of it.
it is definitely like, I mean, as far as I've played, it feels like any other WoW expansion, which means like you'll just want to play and you'll want to put more, like you said, you'll put as much time as you can into it. But like, I don't know, you're not in school anymore, so you can't sleep in history class, so that's a positive.
Yep.
Like for me, I want that sort of thing because I want to get the most value out of a game. Like,
Yeah.
If I can spend $15 a month and play like 40, 50 hours, like if I can play for a month of any game,
Yeah.
I fucking love that game.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a good thing.
Is your goal ultimately to raid, to get into like
used to-
high-end dungeons and stuff?
I used to have a raid schedule and
Yeah.
play all the time,
Sure.
and now it's like, because the game has skewed a little more casual.
Yeah.
Me and Grace will be able to hop into dungeons. We and Grace will be able to LFG for raids.
Right.
So like for me, probably not going to do any of the mythic stuff. I just want to be able to see the content.
I gotcha.
And make my character look cool.
I think I said Mystic a little while ago. I meant Mythic.
Mystic.
Why did you start a new character rather than
Yeah.
use like an existing one?
Well, for one, my character is Alliance. He's a paladin.
So, I didn't know better.
You didn't want to.
Tully.
But yeah, Grace said she wanted to do a horde, and I'm totally on board because all my friends are horde, so I really want to try that out.
Gotcha.
And I also want to see what else is out there, but I probably won't.
I don't know anyone who is like Alliance.
I mean, growing
All
up,
I ever hear is for the Horde.
I was Alliance my first like
growing up,
playthrough of it.
yeah, growing up, a lot of my friends were Alliance, and it was just a matter of like. Historically, I always like to play the good guys, and as a kid, you think these are the good guys, but now it's a lot more shades of gray now, and that's actually a really big. If you go on the subreddit, a lot of people are fighting over who's good and who's bad. It's kind of silly.
Are you like me, where when you play this game, and since you've been playing it for so long, that you still have moments where you're like, the things that they've made so easy in the game, you're like, back in my day,
There's some cane
to find a
shaking.
group, we had to get to the goddamn dungeon, and then we had to we had to go to a city and just start spamming chat for forever, and hopefully get some people to actually go with us.
There's definitely some like nostalgia for those things, but
Or like, we didn't
realized-
have mounts right away. We had to like grind for a goddamn mount.
I realized
They give you mounts right away?
Mounts are
level
basically
10.
gimmies.
I had to save so much.
I
Oh my
think that's the thing. It's like I have nostalgia for those things, but I recognize that most of the changes they've made are for quality. of
Oh,
life.
totally. Like that, and that's when like, back in my day I used to do this, but now like to be able to jump in and casually jump in an expansion and be able to do dungeons and
They've made it accessible for everyone, for people that don't want to put a ton of time in,
Totally.
and for people that do. So to answer your question, I think there is a little more like you can play more casually and still have a good experience, but like if you're into that sort of thing, like you will be able to play more hardcore and put more of your time into it. I've been playing a little bit more Dead Cells. I've one more thing to talk about. I beat Dead Cells.
You beat Dead Cells, dude.
And when I say beat it, I mean that game is you can eventually beat it, but I beat the final boss and had the story end.
It's like beating Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, but when you beat that game, you collect a boss cell from the final boss. Oh. By the way, I put my run on Twitter if you want to see. The last boss fight lasted 1 minute 15 seconds. What a blast! It's so
that sounds like terror to me, like absolute terror.
All that work to get that far, and then.
I mean, like seriously, Grace walked in. I mean, the last second, I was like, "I'm on the last boss. Don't talk to me." I've never beat this guy. I really want to beat him, but.
I think I did that to my girlfriend while she was here this last week at one point when she came by, like I was doing something. I was like, can't, not right now, no, need play.
Sorry for being so short.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I wasn't being mean. I was just like, I'm in the middle of, I've just started this boss fight, please, 1 second. But I beat it, and here it is. Here's the final run.
All right, let's see this. Let's bring this up.
Of course, it's a dual sword guy.
Of course.
I haven't played a single minute
I watched
of this
this,
game.
and it looked like agonizing.
How long was your final run? Like, did it take you an hour?
It says at the bottom there, 35 minutes of game time.
Got it.
It felt like roughly like 50 minutes of actual time.
Okay.
Yeah, the game counts its own in-game time really, really differently.
It seems like it slows down, but it pauses when you do stuff. So the way I've died on this boss in the past was those little pits. When he knocks you into those pits, it does like 60% of your health as damage, and you can see he knocks me into the pits twice, but I managed to jump at the last second. See, like right there, jump at the last second. Yeah, and he knocks me into the pit here, and I jump at the last second, don't take any damage from the pit, and but it's
just fun. I'm
stressed out watching it.
Me too.
And I'm almost dying at the end. No problem. And that's his boss cell. So with the boss cell, what you can do is you then put it in the first room. There's something you can put it in to make the game harder. You have I think it said less healing spots.
No.
And
why?
I'm with
you. and I think you can do that up to 3 times. So you have to to get another boss cell, you have to beat it on the next higher difficulty with the boss cell active. And it's awesome. It's fucking cool. And I'm not done with the game. Like I haven't fully upgraded all my blueprints. I haven't found all the blueprints, and that's the thing is like if you look at my jars of shit that I found, I don't have all of the jars of shit. I have like 30% of them maybe.
Wow.
So yeah, like my run, like right now I have very basic stuff unlocked.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of worked to my advantage. It's mainly been like,
you had said that, so you have a limited number of weapons that it can drop.
Yeah, and it really did work. I thought about doing that for a long time, and this time I was like, no, this works like really well. So what I ended up, my general run now until I start unlocking more stuff is like, get infantry grenade and a frost grenade, so you freeze and blow people up, and get grenade decrease cooldown. That will like make it so you can just constantly spam grenades while you're attacking. And then I generally have a weapon that will complement like status effects.
Right.
And it's so much fun to like find good builds. And now the thing I want to do is like go to a wiki and see what is available for me to unlock, what looks interesting, go and get that stuff and make runs out of those items.
So you're gonna do New Game Plus or what? You're gonna?
Yeah, I've still been playing. I've been going through, and I have one ability left to unlock. It's the one where you can either jump off walls or climb up walls. I haven't found that yet. I know it's somewhere towards the latter half of the game, but generally when I get there, I'm just like, I'm gonna go fight the boss, and it's fun. But
you put all that time in.
Yeah.
For the big guy.
They also give you like a weird, I don't know, this isn't really a spoiler. They give you a weird ability when you beat the game, where you can jump your head off your body, and you can walk around with your head. And put your head
your little symbiote thing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's real weird. So Dead Cells is really freaking great. And if you like roguelikes or if you like the look of an action platformer like that, please give it a shot. It is so good. It's so good.
It's been the surprise hit of the year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I played it last year and I loved it. But like all the improvements they made have been
good.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week on Glitch Please. We also did a video, just sort of an intro to what Dead Cells is, how it plays as well. So if you want to learn more about it, you can totally check it out. But yeah, highly recommend it. I will not beat it.
No.
That is probably not in my future, but I'm okay with that. I have a lot of fun playing.
Not as hard as you think. maybe not as hard as you think.
We saw you play. You're
You just
way
need
above
the
us.
right items.
I read a review on IGN that really got me stoked to play it, and I'm all on board.
I get that reference. I get that reference.
All right. Well, speaking of, Metroidvania-ish roguelikes, let's talk about Death's Gambit, because that's the new one this week.
That's.
All right, I'm gonna sound like.
All right, go ahead, John.
I just want to make sure I give a disclaimer. I'm gonna sound like an idiot for a second. You guys keep saying Metroidvania.
So Metroidvania, it's a combination of the words Castlevania and Metroid.
That's what I thought you guys were doing.
And it's referencing
like
games.
those
It's
guys.
referencing games that are like you have a map and you have areas you can't access, and then you backtrack to once you unlock
Hollow Knight.
abilities.
Yes,
Hollow Knight is a
totally.
Metroidvania. Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's just
It's describing
game
a
design
genre
style.
of game.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I'm caught up.
And a method of progression.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Death's Gambit is, thus far, I'm like 5 hours in, not as much of a Metroidvania. And I say that because all of the areas pretty much are accessible thus far, and the ones that looked inaccessible, you just find a different path to go to and then unlock them. So I haven't really unlocked any abilities that allow me to traverse differently or to access other areas. Okay, Death's Gambit.
This is a game that you've been looking forward to
Yeah.
a lot. You've been talking to me about it for months.
Yes.
You're so excited Death's
Yeah.
Gambit is coming out.
Because listen, I'm a huge fan of 2D action platformers, whether they be Metroidvanias or just RPGs or whatever. And this one, it wears it's very Dark Souls inspired, and it sort of shows that from the get-go.
Yep.
The story of the game is basically you're this dude named Soren, and you make a deal with, like, you literally, he doesn't really have any good dialogue. He just goes, yeah, you have a deal with me now, Death, the Reaper of Death. He's like, yeah, you have a deal with me, and then you have a contract with him that you can't die. And that's it. And I think you're trying to like prove yourself or like be honorable or whatever.
Your men have been like wiped out, like everybody's been killed.
Yeah. So the game starts off, and I think it actually starts off really strongly. You are in a prologue area where you run into enemies, and you're sort of navigating this area. Like there's harder enemies one way. You have to unlock certain paths, and you fight a boss, and you fight a hard enemy, and there's items to find, and there's like a dragon that breathes fire, and it's like there's a lot of cool little elements, and you're like, wow, this feels like a fun sort of 2D-ish it is 2D, not ish, 2D Dark Souls inspired action platformer. And then once you beat the prologue area, you go to the first boss, and the first boss is, it's a first boss, it's not too hard. Once you beat him, you then get to like the main town. And from the main town, the game opens up, and you don't really know where to go, and the only way to figure that out, like a lot of these games, is to go in a direction and see if something like smashes your face in. And so the first thing I did was go in a direction. I got my face smashed in, and I found a boss. He killed me, and I kept going, and there's probably 4 to 5 paths you can go in, and every single path was a boss, and they all smashed my face in. And
what were you doing at it?
they're hard. So the thing I'm discovering about this game is that, how do I say this? It skews a lot more towards bosses in terms of content than it does towards levels and regular enemies to explore and fight. So there is not a ton of in between the camp and bosses. At most, it's like 4 enemies, maybe 5.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of
At the beginning of the game,
not a lot of teaching moments.
right, the game makes it seem like you're going to be exploring these areas, fighting enemies, and then fighting bosses. And to some extent, that's true. But those areas of exploration are so truncated that you're not really doing a lot of that. You're really just like fighting 2 or 3 enemies. Oh, there's a boss. And that to me is really weird, especially because the bosses are not easy. They're actually hard. And so you want to like explore and fight enemies and find loot, but there's not a ton to explore. And I don't think it's an inherently bad thing. It's just the design of the game. And I think that there's a lot about this game that's good. I think the art style is pretty striking. I think that
I love the look.
yeah, there's like a good amount of starting classes. There's a good amount of abilities. The game definitely has an identity, and it knows what it wants to be. By the way, you can jump on that big deer to get that item. I found that out. I went back, and I think it's cool, but I found myself like just beating my head against bosses and wondering like, is this really the way to go? And I'll spend like an hour going every other direction and be like, yeah, there's these 3 bosses, and of the 3 bosses, this is the easiest one thus far. And what I ended up doing was just fighting the same 5 enemies to level up.
Yep. Yeah, because you kind of have to grind, but there's not a lot of grinding opportunities.
Yeah, and from what I've actually found, so there's like 6 or 7 archetypes of weapons. There's only 1 of every weapon in the whole game. Meaning, like, if you play longsword, you're not going to get a cooler, better longsword. You're going to use the same longsword. However, you do find like longsword +2, which means like it will be more powerful.
This sounds very disappointing.
But it's still a longsword.
But it's yeah.
So I've heard a couple complaints about the game. One is there are some weird development decisions made. Things like the game speed on PC tied to refresh rate.
Yeah, who knows if that was a decision.
So people who have like really high refresh rates on their monitors are finding the game runs too fast.
Well, yeah, it's refresh rate, but also frame rate. So like if you run at 144 hertz and the game can run at 144 frames per second, then it's gonna run too fast. The game is meant to run at 60 frames a second. So any performance slowdowns and any frame rates like higher than that, you'll be slowing the game engine down.
Yeah, and that seems real weird for a game. And from what I understand, that may be an engine thing. I don't know what engine they used for this game.
So they actually tweeted out about it saying it's an issue with G-Sync, and you can actually disable it in NVIDIA settings, and then you have to like go in and refresh the rate. Prefer and set application to controlled, and apparently that'll like reset it so that it runs at 60 hertz.
With G-Sync, as in NVIDIA G-Sync?
That's what they're tweeting out. I can send it to broadcast, see if they can throw that out.
I mean, I haven't had any problems with it because it just maintains 60. I run with a 60 hertz monitor because, like I said, I never upgrade my monitor. So I haven't had any problems with it going over 60 frames a second or below it because it's not an incredibly demanding game. But like, there's been a ton of people really pissed off about it. Like frame rates dipping and then their game just coming to a halt. And that is a weird problem. The game also has like no video options. You can set, I think, your resolution, and that's it. There's no like graphical settings or anything like that. It has some weird bugs. The first thing I had was like, oh, you can't use a PS4 controller with it. It just doesn't recognize it. And it's a PS4 and PC game. Yeah,
so you're saying like on PC, you connect a PS4 controller to the PC and it's not too bad.
I haven't looked this up or tried it anywhere. I tried it on 2 PCs. I tried it on my work laptop with a PS4 controller, nothing, and then at my home. However, there's a setting in Steam where you can go and set up controller configuration for Xbox, PS4, and Nintendo Switch, and like generic controllers, and it will Steam will recognize your controller and then map it to X input. So like while I'm playing the game, it says push like A, but I don't have an A button, which is fine.
Right.
So I don't know. I feel like the game is not. It's not terrible. Like the combat should be better.
Yes.
I feel like it's a slower game that is like trying to be like Dark Souls, but the combat feels sort of empty.
Yeah, and loose. Like I don't know. It's not as just precise as I would want it to be in something like this.
Yeah, and a weird thing that happens a lot is like enemies, like you'll dodge behind an enemy and they'll swing in front of them, but then you'll still get hit.
They'll get you on the backswing.
Yeah, they're like ha, and like somehow they hit you behind, and some weird hitboxes. And
it's also weird after you've played Dead Cells.
Listen,
combat is so different.
Like, and that's fine. Games can be at different speeds and have different movement.
Yes.
But you're right, because the movement in Dead Cells feels so good.
Right.
Movement in combat in Dead Cells is like, to me, is the top of the line right now.
Yes.
And obviously, games that want a little more slow and methodical and animation-driven combat are totally fine to have that.
Right. It's not its fault, but given when it released, I couldn't help but compare the two.
Right, and I was literally playing Dead Cells over the weekend to beat it so that I could feel okay about putting it down to play this game.
Right.
And ugh. And the other thing I'm hearing, and I haven't beaten it, so I wouldn't know, but if you are doing well and you're beating bosses, and this game is only about 10 hours long, which is, and hearing that you're not going to really find new weapons, and I have found weapons in the world, but they're just like spell sword +2, or I found like an enemy's drop gear, and that's really cool, but big problem. This is totally opinion. You can't change the look of your character. Look, when you find new gear and it's like, oh, you have awesome helmet, number 64, it doesn't look any different.
Right.
Like, it doesn't change the way you look.
Yeah, only your weapons.
And that's purely aesthetic, and that could bother you or not bother you. But for me, it's like I want to make my character look cool, and because I can, it's not a huge problem. It's just like it's not a deal breaker by any means, but it is a bummer. I really want to like this game. I keep going back and I'm like, maybe I'll beat another boss and it'll open up and it'll be just the best.
You'll turn the corner on it.
Yeah, and I just haven't gotten to that point, unfortunately. And I've tried different weapons, and I've actually unlocked like fireball spell and done magic, and it's kind of cool, but I definitely don't think this game is bad. I just think that the style of game I thought it was, like exploration, fighting enemies along the way, grinding out new gear to fight those bosses, it's not quite that game. You will grind out levels to make yourself do more damage, but at a certain point, it's just like you're just grinding out to make numbers go higher, and that's not exactly fun. And I hate comparing games like this, but there's another game called Salt and Sanctuary that is very much also a 2D Dark Souls inspired experience.
It's been that kind of month.
Well,
not the whole Dark Souls thing, but it's been a very 2D kind of month.
Yeah, Salt and Sanctuary came out a while back, but it
just came out on the Switch, I think.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
It is like, that is the experience for me. If I want a game that's like a 2D Dark Souls, that game is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like justify the price for this when that's the same price. And man, I wish I liked this game more.
Yeah, the hard thing is there's so many comparable games to this that are just better.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, it's just hard, it feels like not as good.
This game does have some interesting ideas that I haven't seen, like when you're exploring the world, you will find these things like, I think they're tomes that will increase your damage against a boss. So, it basically rewards exploration. So you can find up to 2 tomes per boss that will give you 10% more damage total, 5% each. So it has like some cool ideas of like, hey man, here's a different reward for exploring, rather than just gear. It's like you're gonna make your life easier if you explore more. And when you're fighting the bosses, they have a little an indicator on their health bar, and as you get their health lower, the indicator will drop, and it's like a historical marker of how far you've gotten their health down. So that will, if you get them halfway and then die, next time you fight them, the marker will be at halfway. But the other part of that is, when you get that marker, the lower you get that marker, when you die, you'll get rewards for it, like shards, which is the currency for leveling up and for getting gear. So there are definitely some interesting ideas in that game, and I think it's presented okay. I think visually it looks good. Not all the animations are very good, but just the overall look of it is nice. But I don't think it's for me, and it pains me so much. I wanted to like it so bad.
Do you think it could have benefited from an early access period? From what I understand, it's the refresh rate speed issue isn't the only issue the game has. I've been just seeing tweets and posts from people complaining about crashes on PS4, hard locks, something about the game would save, it was some weird scenario where the game would save as you died, and you can no longer play the game at all.
That's
doesn't really stuff like that seems like
there's
some bugs.
I had a bug. I had a bug where I went to a checkpoint, and to activate the checkpoint, you push down on the D-pad, and it reaches down, and then it checkpoint's on. But instead of turning on, he just kept reaching down, and I couldn't break the animation. He was like, map, map, map. And I was like, oh, buttons. What's happening? But alt-tabbing and then mashing my controller made him stop doing that.
Yeah, I have a lot of sympathy for indie developers in particular with things like this, because this game is now seeing 100,000 times more testing in release.
Totally.
Now that there are that many more, it's just the scale of number of people playing it than they could possibly have done on their own, especially with a small studio like that. And that's the case with any game, really, is the day of release, we'll see more QA, accidental QA in a lot of cases, than any developer could do during development. So I have sympathy, but a lot of those issues seem like they would have been more forgivable if the game was in early access.
Yeah, so I feel like the game could have benefited in a lot of ways if they were to polish up those bugs, if they were to maybe add some more feel to the combat, maybe add some more items to find and things like that over the course of the early access period. But I think some of the overall just design of the game itself, like how small those actual level, like the exploration parts of the game are, like the game isn't very big. And that stuff.
That's a design decision.
Right. I don't know how much that would have changed. Right. Also, this game has been in development, I want to say, for like 4 years. So, like, how long could early access have been to fix those issues? I don't know. Like, I definitely think it could have benefited in some ways. I don't know if it would have completely changed the game in for my tastes. But I think it's an okay game if you know what you're getting into and know what you want. But it's definitely not the kind of game I think it presents itself to be in a lot of ways.
I want to clarify that bug I mentioned earlier, by the way. I looked into it a little bit more. Apparently, it's not an issue with G-Sync. The game's physics are tied to your monitor's refresh rate, so you have to manually go in and change it to 60 after disabling G-Sync.
Right, but that doesn't, if your performance, like dips, like if you have problems,
right,
with, like if your computer isn't the best, and it dips to 30, like the whole game engine will slow down.
Right.
So you can cap it, but you can't bring up the
exactly.
floor.
And,
you can't make it constant.
I haven't had that problem, so I'm just speaking. I don't know how much of an issue that is for people. I have seen complaints about frame rate dips and things like that, but yeah, I'm like kind of disappointed that 2 big action platformers I was looking to in the past couple weeks.
That being this and Chasm?
Yeah, have been not my favorite, and so, like I'm sort of broken, and I don't.
But you have WoW.
I don't love it.
You have WoW.
Well, look on the bright side. Next month is gonna start to get really, really crazy.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is coming out, and there's a lot to look forward to there. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is gonna be coming out. Then we're gonna hit.
Ooh, Forsaken's coming out.
Forsaken's coming out. We're gonna hit October. There's gonna be all the big titles. There's Call of Duty. There's Battlefield. There's Red Dead Redemption 2. Yep. There are. The holiday period's about to start.
October 26th. And I will not be here. Bye-bye.
What?
Leaving for a whole week.
Oh, you did for Red Dead?
Oh, fuck yeah. I did for the first game.
That's awesome.
It was the best choice ever.
All right, well, noted. Maybe you can find
What are you
time
shaking
to
your
come
head?
That's a lot.
The whole week?
I'm just saying it's a lot. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a lot.
No, I think you're implying by saying it's a lot that it's a bad thing.
I'm saying that.
You disagree with my choice.
I don't disagree at all with your choice.
Yeah.
Guess what, Adam? You are an adult.
That's right.
Who has control over your time and has control over what you do with your priorities. And by all means, I'm not here to tell you what that is.
And
You're just here to observe and report.
To be fair, I have not taken any vacation time this year. So the end of my year is going to be pretty loaded. Pretty loaded.
Pretty excited.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Video games.
Well, as we march towards the holiday period, there are a lot of games that we continue to get updates about. So why don't we talk a little bit about the news?
Let's talk about them.
About the news. All right. Specifically, we'll talk Battlefield 5, Pokemon Let's Go, and Dishonored. Dishonored, not coming out this holiday, actually. No. Not coming out anytime soon. Arcane has put the franchise on ice temporarily. It's resting.
It's resting, yeah. I think they talked to one of the heads of the studio. It wasn't Rafael Colantonio, it was the other guy, whose name escapes me, but they gave an interview, I think it was to VG 24/7, and they said, nope. We got no further plans. Not going to say we're never going to come back to it, but yeah, it's taking a rest, I believe is what they said. And they kind of asked them about what they had planned for the future, and they didn't really specify. They talked a little bit about multiplayer, but that was kind of all they got out of them. And Dishonored did kind of wrap up with Death of the Outsider in 2017. That's when they released that standalone adventure. And then after the Prey has come out, so it remains to be seen if they're going to work on, a follow-up to Prey or what. But yeah, it seems to me like a little bit of an admission that the latest Dishonored didn't do so well, because if it did, you would have think they would have jumped back into
find
it.
some way.
Yeah.
Well, so it's a double-edged sword. To some degree, I like it when a franchise will say, hey, we told the story we wanted to tell.
Right.
And we're good now.
Yes.
It's nice as opposed to jumping the shark. But Dishonored also had a really cool, really unique world. I liked what they built. And so on that side, it's a shame to see it sort of not going to be around for a while.
And it's kind of their signature game,
Well,
too. It's what you kind of know Arcane for.
Well, they also make Prey, right?
Right.
And,
Right,
and
which
Prey
also-
saw some critical success.
Yes.
A lot of critical success.
So I
but-
wonder if they're taking that studio and like the team that was working on Prey or was working on Dishonored, they're all just going to work on Prey now and make an even bigger, better Prey.
Maybe because it did get critical success, but that didn't necessarily translate into commercial success. Yeah. They had some new content. They announced and released some of it at E3 this year. So they're continuing to support Prey, and maybe that means that it's more of a slow burn title. But at least when it hit, it didn't seem to do the numbers that they would have been hoping for. And part of that might have been as well. That it, yes, critically did really great, but when you talk to a lot of players, the gameplay was fun, the exploration's fun, the opening is one of the best openings to a game in recent memory, in my opinion. I loved that. Well, but also just you're in this world and then you realize that it's not a thing at all, that it was all a mirage, and so like that whole opening is really, really cool. And the way they set it up, where you can go really anywhere in the station at any time, in any order, do whatever you like. It's not go through this, finish, like fight the boss at the end, get what you need to then go on to the next section. It was very open in that way, but that also for some people translated into a kind of monotone pacing, that they didn't feel like there were obviously, the various enemies around to fight, but they were all sort of on a level. So you weren't necessarily working up to some crazy encounter. Right. A lot of it was just, it was cool, it's chill, you go around, do your exploring.
The game is not chill, by the way.
No, it's not chill, it's very scary.
Not chill.
But, I mean, in terms of pacing, like, it was just...
There's something to be said about quantifiable progression, and like that you actually have you've done an A to B, and then now we're gonna do the next A to B.
And having things peak, kind of naturally, or making it peak. This feels like a game that a sequel could really launch it, because like the first one, critically acclaimed. I think people who played it liked it, but it just didn't sell that well. It feels like a sequel might. Because then it's going to get a little push because the first one was good. I don't know. I can see it.
I wonder
kind of breaking through if it's good.
I wonder if it would have done better without the Prey name, because this was really only tangentially related.
How was it even related to the Prey?
The name.
Enemies in space.
I mean, the first Prey, you were on a Native American reservation.
And then you end up in space.
You're in a bar, and then you get abducted by aliens, and so do all your friends, and they're processing all of you guys, and you break free, and then you use your spirit animal powers to fight aliens. Yeah,
so
very different
none
game.
Of that, but
original Prey was awesome.
But you are on a space station, and you're fighting enemies, so they're basically just the same. Look at that, ta-da!
Prey, the first one also had good opening. I'll say that. Prey's good with openings, both of them.
That's the connection.
Yeah.
Just have a great opening, call your game Prey.
The good opening games.
Yeah, I could see a follow-on to Prey doing well. I think it had the fan base for Prey really, really likes it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if they're able to do maybe even an economical continuation, they're like, well, we've got a lot of things that we've got the foundation built now, which makes the next game easier or more cost efficient to develop, something like that. So,
they need to make a third one that has nothing to do with the first two. That's what they got to do.
Yeah.
Just keep that's the
Completely different.
connector.
It's a puzzle game. Yeah, the fervor around Prey makes me want to play it, but I'm too much of a scaredy cat to play it.
It's
Because the jumpy scared.
Dude,
yeah,
people always tell me it's not a horror game. Dude, it is a horror game. If a trash can be a bad guy, it's a horror game.
yeah. I will say that I got scared a lot playing it.
Yeah.
I got scared a lot. I was nervous a lot. I was just freaking out about because you'll just see something just out of the corner and then you turn around and nothing's there.
I tried, man.
And
Speaking of trash cans gonna be monsters, did you ever watch The Wiz?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? When they
The
get in
OG
subway-
one with Michael Jackson?
Yeah, and they get in the subway and the columns turn into like monsters and the trash cans start eating the scarecrow's arms or anything like that. You should not watch that scene if you don't.
I
like
like horror movies. I don't like horror games.
The Wiz isn't a horror movie, but it is a scary moment that I remember as a kid watching the movie.
I'm
that's
not
my contribution to this
explicitly afraid
conversation.
of trash cans. That's not. I was just using trash cans as an example.
Trash cans are kind of evil in real life too. I mean,
There
there's
it is.
nothing-
oh,
Oh God.
what is happening?
That's
Yeah.
kind of horrific.
It was
yeah.
it was essentially there because like The Wiz is a version of the Wizard of Oz story, and this was like the flying monkeys moment of it, taking everybody apart. And so the trash cans eat Scarecrow. The columns of the subway like start like mushing in. I think the lion or something like that, or the Tin Man. It's pretty scary as a kid.
Just had a little bit of a smile on.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's Michael Jackson.
Oh, is it?
That's Michael Jackson.
Got it.
But Adam, like you, I'm easily scared.
Yeah.
I'm BioShock is about the scariest game I can handle, and when you say that to someone, they're like, "Yeah, BioShock's not scary." I'm like,
It is
exactly.
scary.
BioShock's scary. BioShock is
Yeah, it's-
scary.
Yeah.
It's intentionally scary. That game-
You're alone in a dark place where these people that are like screaming run at you.
And they're
Crackheads.
hanging off the roof.
Yeah.
Their ceiling.
Yeah,
and they
that game
just
is
drop on you.
intentionally scary.
So yeah, I hope the Prey does well. It's a bit rough for Arcane if Dishonored, the new Dishonored stuff didn't do as well as they'd hoped, and Prey didn't do as well as they hoped. They, I think, was it Rafael Colantonio did leave the studio recently?
I think so.
So you know, there's some leadership changes there. Not really sure what's going on. I would like to see more Prey. If they can do it, I'd love to see what completely unrelated scenario they can come up with next. But the new content that they had, everyone who's into Prey loves it.
They make good stuff, but it feels like they still haven't had that blockbuster game.
I pulled some numbers actually for the games, Dishonored 2 versus Prey. Dishonored 2 sold about 3 million.
How much?
3 million.
Okay.
So that's a respectable number.
Yeah, and Prey's only sold, well, granted it's had a year gap, but it's sold, I think, 1.4 million.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Dishonored actually more successful.
Okay.
Is that Dishonored as a franchise?
That's Dishonored 2.
Okay.
Specifically, and then yeah, the Death of the Outsider content, which was
2017.
yeah 2017, and that was the one that with Billy, right?
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, I like those games. I'm interested to see what they mean by
Maybe they're
rest.
working on a new IP.
That would be great.
Yeah.
I'd love to see something new from them because I like the work that they've done so far.
They're a good studio, man.
They did a great job introducing a new IP with
Yeah,
Dishonored.
definitely.
They're Austin-based, right?
So they have
an
a studio in
outpost
Austin.
here, yeah.
Yeah. They have multiple studios. One of them is in Austin.
Got it.
So we'll see what they do.
Yeah.
But keeping an eye on what is coming this holiday period. First up, Battlefield 5. And they are going to be showing some new content at Gamescom. It looks like they're going to be showing off their Battle Royale mode, among a couple of other things. But it's been an interesting road for the game towards launch because it's not pre-ordering as well as they hoped. And
Aren't people tired
of what?
of just these like?
War.
They're so tired of war.
Never changes.
Aren't people tired of war? No, I mean, like, yeah, I know they're trying to make new things and add new modes, but really is Battlefield number 25 really that much different than Battlefield number 24? I mean,
Well, those aren't out yet, so.
right.
No.
I was using hyperbole to try to make a point. But this is coming from someone who is not a hardcore fan of these games, so that's totally a caveat for this opinion. But I don't know, like, really, what more are they adding to these games that's going to really get people that excited to do anything amazing?
I think
Well,
I think that the same thing can be said about franchises that you like. Like
Totally.
You like Star Wars Episode 7. There's 6 of those. Like I mean,
No, but see, there's fatigue with those too.
You're
But
talking about
people
World
like-
of Warcraft. Still into that.
Right, I'm not
You
saying it's a
this
rule.
isn't even
I'm not
another
saying it's a
entry.
rule.
This is
Well,
an
but-
expansion
but-
to the
but
same
Mario's
goddamn
been around
game.
forever.
just-
Mario's gonna be around forever.
So that's the thing, is that you just have to, if you were a fan of these games the same way you're a fan of franchises that have been around for many iterations, like just put yourself in those shoes. People do.
Okay,
like this.
then I'll compare it to this. People were feeling, I just yelled Mario. People weren't like, haven't always been crazy about every Mario game. The Mario Odyssey tries to do something a little different and switches things up a good deal.
Because it's on Switch. Funny joke.
Like, or even Breath of the Wild, like another good example. Whereas, you know, we're gonna talk about Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu in a second, like, these games don't feel like they're really doing a lot to make you go, the new one's here.
Well, I mean, again, you may not know all the nuances of the changes or be able to appreciate them all because I'm not a huge fan of the series. And then there is
You're totally correct.
There is changes. I'm not.
But I'm also reacting to
I don't
news
want
of
to. I don't
bad
want to
pre-orders.
defend Battlefield as a whole because
Yeah.
I also am not the craziest fan. But it seems like they're making cool changes. They're adding a bunch of. Oh, I guess this isn't really changed from the last one, but they're adding those story vignettes. They're adding a big war mode, which will. It's like you play over multiple days, and
But I'll say this.
battlefields change.
I'll say this.
Making a return.
Right.
We are in a consumer environment where people are buying things less and they are being more bespoke with their purchases of what they want, and so that's why that fatigue, I think, is a real problem with some of these franchises where, you know, Battlefield 5, you know, people go, I can pass on this one. That's a mentality that's happening.
Also, Call of Duty World War II just came out last year. And I do think, and I'm not a huge, I mean, I played Battlefield 1, I really liked it, but it does feel like there are a lot of similar shooty games coming out. Black Ops.
those are sort
Yeah,
of
but
like
there's also
those are
similar
the.
shooty games that come out every year.
Yeah, those are sort of like
Granted.
the staple franchises that you're
Granted.
like a Battlefield fan or a Call of Duty fan. Like, again, I get what you're saying about like the games seeming similar from outwardly.
Yeah.
But like, it's the same reason people that play Madden buy the new Madden every year. It's still football.
That's what
Correct.
I was thinking.
Totally correct.
They
You're
want
100%
more,
with that.
A little different.
Yeah.
But when you do have a user base that has been buying your game for a bunch, but you don't ever actually do anything to create like a new expansion of your user base, you're going to see a decrease. Yeah, and so that's why I think like you see something like this. Of course, pre-orders can mean nothing. Could come out, everyone goes crazy about it, and people could be buying like crazy because they want to play with all the.
I think
totally possible.
I think part of this has to do with just DICE as a whole and waiting to see how those things play out.
Because Battlefront 2
Battlefront-
didn't do great with core gamers last year.
Right.
So then there's also that.
So studio distrust.
But also, is Fortnite sucking all the air out of the room? Like there've been
Those games are so different.
but there've been studies that it has eaten into maybe not Battlefield, but like similar type games. I mean, if everybody's playing, I know they're different games, but I think there's some overlap.
But I think if you are working in a consumer environment where
Yes.
people are picking a lot more, specifically about what they do, if they're just like, there's no reason I want to play Battlefield 5 if I'm enjoying Game X, Fortnite, something like that, you know. Or I'm just going to wait for, I'd rather just, I'm gonna buy Spider-Man, and that's going to be my time for the next like 2 months, and I'll just skip
If
Battlefield.
you can play 2 months of Spider-Man, I'll be very impressed.
So, just so you guys know, the trailer from Gamescom dropped about an hour ago, and the fan reception is really, really good.
Cool.
I
Then-
saw it.
then people can totally be
It
excited
looked
about
great. Yeah, it was action packed. They kind of showed
Action-packed.
off. It was. There
A
were
lot of
planes
comments are
crashing
saying
in the
things like, finally a really good trailer that dropped. This
Yes.
should have been the reveal trailer.
And they
Just
showed
super
off its
excited.
Battle Royale mode.
Yep,
we
they
get
showed
to
off
see
a
a
lot of
ring
really
of
cool stuff.
fire and.
Then maybe that's what it is that they weren't
Fire.
playing their marketing. Then I could be, more than often I talk out of my ass and have no idea what I'm saying.
I mean,
and have no facts to
you're
back it
not
up.
wrong. Like, that's totally a thing. Fatigue is totally a thing. But I think, I wouldn't say, like, why do people keep playing these games even though they're the same? Because people...
No, I guess if that's how I came across, then I communicated incorrectly. I just meant more so like with these franchises that don't make huge sidesteps or big changes. I mean, I would put Call of Duty in that area. I'd put Assassin's Creed to a certain extent in that area.
Some people just like their thing. Some
Totally,
people just have
totally.
their thing. And those games can maintain with just that player base, either whether being buying microtransactions or whether just be buying the yearly game. Like those games do well.
But a lot of games nowadays, though, aren't, you know, as far as like the conversations had about them, is not about, oh, did we satisfy our fan base that we had in the last game? It's, did we grow and get even bigger than last time? That's the measure of whether or not a franchise is being successful. I mean, again, talking about Mario, like Odyssey or even Breath of the Wild, those are examples of like, well, we expanded even further and did even more and sold hardware for our game. But again, talking about like Pokemon Let's Go, like that's when, you know, people are talking with pre-orders, like it might be the one that people go, I'm gonna wait, right. You know, or even like people looking at Battlefield 5 and go, I'll just play Red Dead. Red Dead's coming out soon.
It's coming out the week after.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play Red Dead.
Yeah, anything in October is kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Well,
Correct.
here's the thing, though, is like those. So Red Dead Redemption 2 has been announced for that October date for a while. For a while it was the only game announced in October.
Everyone else should have gotten out of the
You could feel everyone sort of doing this with their release.
That's like when
windows.
Infinity War sets its date. It was like,
Totally.
our movie's not going to come out until like 4 weeks after that fucker.
Yeah, so it's like, let's give it some space. And then Call of Duty and Battlefield both announced for October. Typically, those games come out first week of November. I guess they decided they didn't want to go after Red Dead Redemption 2, which I
then you
can
have to
understand.
pull people from playing Red Dead.
Because then people are busy. They're taking the week off to play it. And so they figured, I don't know, maybe if they could...
We finally saw gameplay. It looks amazing. It looks like better Red Dead. That's all I wanted.
Did you see the horse testicles?
It was jiggly.
Look, I want to know...
It's like your beard physics.
I want to shake the hand of the people who worked on the horse.
I thought you were about to say you want to shake the horse testicles.
No, it's like
weird.
Get the VR. You want to be able to like get all.
Yeah, you got to get that. What's the haptic gloves? Yeah.
No.
Great.
But
maybe you'll have to inseminate a horse.
So it is coming out the week after Call of Duty, the week before Red Dead Redemption 2. So people may not be prioritizing it. I also don't think that, and maybe the Gamescom trailer is taking care of this. Maybe it's fixing that. But to date, the marketing has almost been combative against the Battlefield fan base.
Are they at war with their fan base?
At war with, yes. Patrick Soderlund, let's see, I'm just finding the quote here.
Because they had to fight that whole girls in Canadian war thing, right?
Yes, so it was in the initial trailer, I believe, there was a female character with a prosthetic arm fighting, and the audience was like, well, that's not realistic at all. And it basically, EA came out and were like, this is our version of World War II, and you can take it or you can leave it. Specifically, where is this quote where they basically said, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And people said, okay. At least so far. So I think it might be a combination of the marketing almost, like being combative with its own fan base, which is typically not how you go about bringing them on board.
It has been a weird rollout for this game.
Yeah.
It's been very
It's interesting to note that this trailer specifically is all gameplay. There's no like story. I don't think there's any like female soldier or anything in that, which is kind of just interesting to note. And we'll see what the.
I mean, they've already shown so much of that.
Yeah, but here's the quote. So this was from Patrick Soderlund, who has now been announced as leaving EA, but was previously.
Sorry.
Wow, that's a party foul.
My
Brian.
bad.
Dude, what the hell?
I'm sorry.
Patrick Soderlund, who formerly DICE been at EA, he said. Today, gaming is gender diverse like it hasn't been before. There are a lot of female people who want to play and male players who want to play as a badass woman, and we don't take any flack. We stand up for the cause because I think those people who don't understand it, well, you have two choices. Either accept it or don't buy the game.
That's fine. I mean, we've already talked about that at length.
Yeah, at length. But it is just an indication that they're like, we're doing this. We don't care about, we don't care what your feedback is. We're doing it. So if you don't like it, there's the door. And
I mean, the thing for me is, it just looks like they're just trying to make a game that they like and that looks cool, and I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I almost wonder if the initial marketing misstep was they were trying to capture the Battlefield moment, which if you look at Battlefield videos, you look at like the crazy stunts, people are doing absolutely bonkers things, not remotely realistic. But there's this weird disconnect where people almost want DICE to treat the game as realistic. and then all the things they do to break it are their things that they do to break it, and that's like their fun part.
Dice can't break it. They can break it.
They want,
Exactly. They want to be the ones breaking it.
It's my toy. I want to break it.
You know, so I wonder if there's that to some degree, but then also just. Yeah, maybe it's not doing enough different. It's hard to figure out, and we'll see if this changes at Gamescom. But I think it's that and a combination of right now, among the core gamers, the ones who would usually be the ones pre-ordering. I don't know that a lot of mainstream consumers necessarily pre-order games. How many of them are taking a wait-and-see approach?
That's probably what it is. Is that if the last Battlefront did have like issues at launch, and people are now just associating that franchise with something they should be speculative of, then the pre-order snafu could very well be a mixture of a few things, one of which just being people going, I'll wait, and if it's good, I'll totally buy it. I don't need to pre-order it.
I'll see what the reception is like.
Totally behind that, because I think with developers and franchises that are riding on your pre-orders, like that's their bread and butter. But they're not. They don't have a clean bill of health with that every single time. You totally should have them worried.
Isn't there an anti-pre-order movement?
There is.
Oh, yeah, there's always
There is, and so I think there's been a general downtrend in pre-orders. Also, because with the move to digital, there's really no reason to pre-order. Like you're not reserving a copy. What?
I fucking missed. I don't pre-order a lot of games anymore, but I fucking missed the Red Dead Collector's Box. It came out like in June, and no one told me. Where were you guys?
Were you not?
I told you. I texted you the day of.
I think it was like while we were at E3, so I was the news.
It's got a smallpox blanket and a.
No, I mean,
Wow.
that was rude.
Wow.
I'm so sad.
I'm here for you, Brian. I like those jokes.
But yeah, that's the only reason I pre-order is to try to get that stuff.
Our history sucks.
It's all stupid shit.
We did terrible
But I
stuff.
want that.
From the beginning.
The West should not be fantasized as much as it is.
Doesn't even come with the game.
No, that's the collector's box.
Yeah, it does not come with the game, which is cool.
So weird.
Wait, no,
So weird. Yeah, it doesn't.
To me,
it's not
Oh
the
my
collector's.
God.
You'll notice it's not the collector's edition of the game. It's the collector's box.
To me,
Who really
How much
like
is
it.
that?
it's $100. So it's like pretty much in line with normal collector's edition prices.
Except the
150.
normal collector's edition boxes.
No.
usually
What do you
come
do
with
with all that shit? What do you do?
I look at it and I go, wow, I got cool stuff.
Do you display it somewhere?
I'm right there with you.
Yes,
I like one little item to put up on my bookshelf. That
I will say I would prefer
But a whole box of Red Dead. I don't know.
I would prefer it's just like the FOMO, the fear of missing out. For me, in my collector's boxes, I prefer a statue or something that I can just put on my shelf of statues. But
I like
What
that,
if you
and
could
I
just
like-
Nerd wall. Yeah.
I like physical maps. So this has like the treasure map
does.
as part of it. I like maps. I think those are
Got
great.
a puzzle,
the bandana is real
A
dumb.
double-sided.
double-sided
That
puzzle.
bandana came from Walmart that
Yeah.
they just threw in
Yeah.
there.
Collectible challenge coin.
As someone who has worked on like this kind of merch stuff, you can see the stuff. It's like we need to fill, and then you
Yeah.
got like the glory items that you had in there.
Yeah, I am a little surprised they didn't just do a statue like every other good collector's edition.
The statue is usually a good call. What's the little baggie hold? Oh, it's pins.
The pin set.
I
You
hate
little baggie. Do you want a little Red Dead baggie?
the more I look at this
The
box,
pins?
maybe the less upset I am. But
Yay.
I still,
See, we talked you out of it.
I still like having the stuff. But I'll probably just get the digital collector's edition now, or
Yeah.
digital deluxe edition, whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's, so to wrap up the Battlefield discussion.
Put that in an IRA.
Yeah, I think
Don't
it's probably
buy
a
all that
combination. Studio
Put that in an IRA.
digital falling pre-orders in general, but pre-orders for games that are coming out around it are still stronger. So it's not just that.
And their pre-orders are good. So
Yes, and a combination of combative marketing with the fan base. So,
And also, Red Dead and fuck, what's the other one? They haven't been out in forever. Like we've been waiting for years for Red Dead.
Call of Duty's the other one.
Yeah, these are not Call of Duty. Well, there goes that fucking.
Been so long.
but no, I think a lot of people are very excited about Red Dead and are like all eyes on that one.
Absolutely, yes.
But speaking of pre-orders,
Speaking of retirement, I checked on my retirement plan recently.
Yeah?
And
How's
it was
that
nice
going?
enough for the thing to show me a thing where like, hey, you can see how well you're comparing to your other peers. And it was like,
Dude, really?
Here's your, like, people of your, like, how much, your age and how much money you
Oh,
make,
not
that kind of
like
thing.
specific.
No. but just like it goes like you're this percentage to your like hitting your goal of your retirement plan for this thing. I'm 25% behind my peers. Like everyone else is at like everyone's like 75% there, and I'm like at 50% there. And I'm like, cool. Thanks for letting me know I'm failing. I'm just gonna go and like not have money.
Right.
Goodbye. But speaking of pre-orders, Pokemon Let's Go is coming out in November. So that's Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Also not doing great in the pre-order department.
Too casual. It's too casual.
Yeah, Theory.
That's
same sort of thing.
I think so.
That the kind of people that the kind of consumer that will buy Pokemon Let's Go is not necessarily the pre-ordering kind of consumer. They're going for the Pokemon Go players.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
How dare they?
I think this is the danger of going for a casual market. I'm not going to say.
Fucking casuals.
Well, Pokemon has a hardcore base of players that EV train their shit, that battle them. Let's Go has none of that. I think some of those players have decided to sit this out.
No random battles?
Yeah, it's just, there's nothing wrong with going for casuals, but I think in this case you might have just turned off that core, at least enough of them to see a drop-off. It's still going to sell well. It's still Pokemon. It's still going to do great, but it might not do as great as Nintendo wants because they are really counting on this and Smash to sell a shit ton of Switches. They sold 17 million, 18 million the first year. They're expecting to sell another 20 million in year 2.
That right
they
now,
don't have the games yet.
I still think it's going to be a great holiday game.
Oh, Nintendo always does.
It will.
Nintendo moves a higher percentage of hardware units for holiday than any other console maker.
Because I'm pretty sure
over
generation.
Look, that's a strong declaration. Ben, you want to look that up? But I'm pretty sure that I've seen studies that being the case, that they have a much higher percentage of their revenue coming in during holiday.
Yeah.
And so...
because even grandparents right now remember decades ago getting Nintendo shit for Christmas for kids. I mean, I think it's just ingrained because it's been around so long.
If you want to buy your kid something cool,
Yes.
it's the cheapest of the cool consoles.
And you're like, it's pretty safe.
Right, exactly. You know they're not gonna, play a GTA game or something like that. You can still, as a parent, have a reasonable assumption that your kids are still pretty safe with Nintendo.
Unless you get them Eternal Darkness with your GameCube.
Yep.
Oh man, that game was so great. That was so scary. Yeah, so we'll see if their sales, I suspect, Nintendo's sales in general anyway, they have good first days, but they have longer tails than a lot of other platforms, just with the way a lot of Nintendo consumers, and not necessarily like core gamers, but the overall Nintendo consumer audience, they don't need day one or even month one. They might wait for birthday, or they're gonna get it when they're on summer break or whatever. They don't need it right now, and so we'll
talking about when people buy these things for Nintendo
just
stuff.
that Nintendo.
I'm in that category of like I'm waiting to see what they do as far as like a console bundle or something like that. So I know it's a small niche. Yeah. But I'm looking for like little specials with it. And that probably plays to the fact that it's not a game that you need to play day one, because it's not going to be the new story.
Right.
So since it's an old story, and so we know you don't have to be like get in there and there's no spoilers or anything like that.
Yeah, even with Zelda, I mean, you weren't gonna get anything really ruined.
I'd say the thing with Zelda though was that there was a lot of FOMO with Zelda as far as like everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, that was like one of those
You wanted to be part of the discovery
cultural
process.
things where everyone is experiencing this and going through this all at the same time, and then being able to talk about it and saying, oh, I find this thing. They're like, what? I haven't come across that. I was over here doing this. And so it was this whole. It was a whole thing.
And I had friends who weren't gamers asking me about it. What about the Switch? What about the new Zelda game? Who I know haven't played in years and years.
So we'll see if Pokemon Let's Go gets some kind of bump from that longer audience. They'll do fine over holiday.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be the same thing like, oh, you like Pokemon. Here you go.
I'm still very excited to play it, but I'm also like, I'm a Pokemon fan. Like I play
Pokemon.
I'll
get it.
Yeah.
I'll absolutely get it. Because I think the multiplayer, the couch co-op, it'll be fun to play with kids and stuff like that.
I'm gonna wait and see. That's
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to see like more close to release previews and see what people's initial impressions are and see if it's like, if there's anything more to it than just.
Have you played like the last two Pokemon games?
Yeah, I have. But this seems like less than those.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll see.
Yeah, but I'm also curious to see what this sort of hybrid approach to Pokemon is.
Yeah.
That blending of traditional Pokemon with Pokemon Go. I'm really curious about it. And I
also
think
looks
that
pretty.
even if it's a tide over, that's fine. Some people are gonna give it a skip because it's not, it doesn't have like the tall grass and all the random encounters and all that. And that's totally valid if it's like hashtag not my Pokemon. But I'm curious. It'll be something a little different. It'll be a different experience, and I'm
I wonder how
at the very least open to seeing what I'm going to get out of it.
I get that they're trying to go after Go fans, but I don't know how many consoles that'll move, because playing a free game on your phone is one thing, or paying a few bucks for Pokeballs. Buying a $300 console, and again, that's a different proposition. So
Yeah.
maybe it'll work. Maybe it will work.
They're looking for Pokemon Go fans that can't play Pokemon Go in the car because when you're driving too fast, you can't play it. So then you can shove the Switch to the kid,
There you
and
go.
the kid can play Pokemon Go Let's Go while you're driving. That's the entire demographic they're going for.
I mean, if they have any kind of integration, I know you can pull your Pokemon Go Pokemon into the park
Just a view.
for
I think.
Pokemon Let's Go. Yeah, but if they
play
have
mini games
if
with
they
them.
have anything that goes the other direction, like even if it's like an exclusive something or other that you can get for Pokemon
I'm
Go
all for that.
because of Let's Go, I'd be curious to see if that drives more people to it, just that sort of incentivizing. Pokemon Go's been around for more than 2 years now. It's the people that are
I'm still not the
playing-
max level in that game. That game is rigged.
The people that are still playing it are like real into it.
Almost a 35, and there are 40 levels in that game.
Jeez.
They are.
You still
it is-
haven't? Wow.
No, and I'm like insane player
Right.
who plays it a ton, and same with like Donnie who plays it.
Yeah, you're playing it in 2018.
We're playing it a ton, and like it goes from like 10,000 XP to get next level. Like level 40 is 5 million XP.
I think it, like from 28 or like 1 to 28 or something around those levels is like, oh, it's the total to get all that is like 500,000 XP, and the next level's 1 million.
Yeah.
It's insane. Way too much. Insane.
I'm almost 35. I need another like 50,000 XP, and I'll be there.
Great. Good for you.
And then another 200, and then another 2 million to get to level 36.
Good.
Do you spend a lot on Pokeball, like real money?
We're not going to talk about that. No, actually, I will talk about that in that I do spend money on the game, but it's Andy and I talk about this all the time with games like this, where because we play it a ton, I'm paying for something that I'm playing a ton of.
That's how I feel about Hearthstone. Yeah.
There you go. It's like if I'm definitely not paying to win because there is no paying to win with the game.
Right.
But I am paying to enjoy a game that I play a ton of.
Yeah. No,
do
that's
you
worth
think
it.
that's going to change at all later this year? They're adding PvP, like so you can face off against other players. At that point, would it count as pay to win?
Maybe, because then you'd be able to, unless like, I don't know. It depends on what the fighting is. Because really, like, if it's going to be fighting, then it's anybody who's going to have the legendaries. Because the only really great Pokemon are legendaries you get in big raids, like Mewtwo or Kyogre or those guys.
Pokemon.
I got 2 Registeals yesterday in a row, 2 raids in a row. Got them. Second one got with a Pinap berry. Didn't have to use the golden raspberries. Fantastic.
Congratulations,
Great.
John.
Pokemon.
All right. Well, that about does it for this episode of Glitch.
There was a dog
We'll
at one of
end
the
on that
raids too.
note.
I got to pet a dog while I did a raid. It was the best thing ever.
In real life or a
It
game?
was a real dog. Her name was
okay.
Penny, and she
Real
was
dogs,
so
man.
happy. And
Real dogs
I
are
literally
the best.
sat on the ground and was just not even looking at my phone, just tapping it to fight, and I was just petting the dog. It was wonderful.
Real dogs are real cool.
Yes, they are.
I love
And they're
dogs.
free.
We can talk about dogs.
the shelter.
Let's do a dog segment.
Best dogs. All right. That about does it for this episode of Glitch, please. I don't know how you're going to beat getting to whatever the Registeals in a row. So
Yeah.
we'll just, call it a day.
Almost missed it. Registeal's on its way out like in a day or so.
Forever?
If you're a Rooster Teeth First member, make sure you catch New Game Plus, the first exclusive post show for Glitch Please for Rooster Teeth First members exclusively on the website. If you are not a Rooster Teeth First member, you can become one. There's a 7-day free trial as well, so you can check out everything that First has to offer, decide if it's for you. So hopefully you will join us there. You'll also need to be a First member for our upcoming Club show, which I'm super excited about. That's kicking off in just a couple of weeks with our game club for Doki Doki Literature Club. So get ready for that. And otherwise, we'll see you next week for more Glitch Please.